What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the No Cap Space post-game show. My goodness. Andrew. That was a roller coaster of a game. Just general thoughts, man. Like let's just kick this right off. There's so much to talk about in this. Just general thoughts so we can dive into some specifics.
All right. Well, I'm speechless. The entire fortunes of the Aces, and I don't think that this is hyperbole to say. I do not think it's hyperbole to say. I think the entire Aces season, how we talk about the Aces the rest of the way, what the Aces might look like the rest of the way, I think just changed from one outcome to another in 1.1 seconds. I know that there's this train of thought about whether or not you believe in momentum in sports. And sometimes I get it. I think sometimes we overstate the use of momentum within teams and programs. This is not one of those times. Like the momentum you would have taken had the Aces lost this game in overtime after Kennedy Carter hits those 2 threes back to back toward the end of the fourth. It would not shock me if the alternate universe that exists somewhere where that outcome occurs, this Aces dynasty is over. Like I am genuinely steadfast in that belief that had they lost this game in that fashion, there would be potential long-term outcomes that would be very dire for the Aces and their organization.
Yeah.
A'ja Wilson getting that shot with 1.1 on the clock. That's the kind of shot and the kind of win and the kind of moment that can save an entire season mentally. Especially when you're getting out of a rut from post-Olympics. You've been playing like shit. You've been getting beat by the Lynx. Everyone is starting to kind of do the MVP thing and call into question whether or not you are unanimous as an MVP candidate as A'ja Wilson. And what do? You go out and win a game and show why you are the most valuable, most outstanding, most important player in this league.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my takeaway. I mean, there's so much more, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
and we can
Kamilla, and we'll get into some of the Aces stuff. I don't want to paint over the fact that they probably could have lost this game.
Yeah.
Spoon's rotations and putting Kennedy in too late. Like we'll get into all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about here.
Yeah.
But the biggest takeaway I truly feel the Aces saved their season with 1.1 seconds.
Yeah.
It goes one way or another. And I really feel like they staved off the worst possible outcome by A'ja Wilson hitting that shot. Great inbound pass too, by the way.
Yeah. And the screen from KP was pretty massive there too. But I don't think you're being hyperbolic at all. Like we have been, I mean, I don't think the discourse has been hidden by any means from us or Twitter or whoever. It's been all over where there's just been question marks about this team. And even if you look at the starting lineup changing and over these last couple of games and everything, just trying to find answers to the problems that the Aces have. And a lot of those problems showed up today. And some unique ones, like with Jackie Young going scoreless until the fourth quarter. That's not something you see very often. But I completely agree with you where the difference in the conversation we would be having right now if the Aces lose this game, especially in overtime in that manner. Like the difference in that and the difference in energy the rest of the way and the question marks that would be surrounding this Aces team, even more so if they lost this game, feels like you said, the alternate timeline's crazy. And it all changed in 1.1 seconds because of A'ja Wilson. She picked up her Infinity Gauntlet and did the Thanos, I'm going to do it myself. And that's what she did today. Like, it was insane, actually, like the first half of this game where A'ja was just like the only person that could score. Like, and that's not even exaggerating. Like, she literally was. It's insane.
Yeah. I think in our analysis, I think we should start from the end.
Okay,
and work our way back to the first. Because within that play from A'ja, great as it was, I don't really understand why Spoon put the rotation that she did out there for 1.1 seconds. I can understand if you don't want an Izzy Harrison or somebody on Plum, but you know where the ball's going with 1.1 seconds. I guess I just don't understand. I get 6'7" Kamilla on the inbounder, right? I understand Angel in the paint. This team has bodies. This team has size and height. You know, you don't have Elizabeth Williams, but you got Brianna Turner, you got Izzy Harrison, excuse me. I don't really understand why you don't just try and clog it. You know, you've seen how they're shooting threes. You know, they're not going to hand that over to anybody else for that final shot. And frankly, if you lose on a three, you lose on a three. Like, if it's a perimeter shot that beats you, you take the lower percentage perimeter shot than literally giving the ball right under the hoop to the best player in the game right now. So I will say my one critique of Spoon toward the end of the game, I guess one of two, is I wish she had put more size down there at the end. And additionally, Kennedy Carter hits those two big shots, and it makes for this amazing drama that she comes in with 45 seconds and does that, right?
Probably should have been in earlier.
But are we there? Exactly. Like, are we there?
Yeah.
If she's been in the game. And you can make the argument that maybe not, because with her in the game, those are touches taken from Lindsay Allen, who was unbelievable toward the end.
She's been great.
And kept them in the game. But I don't really understand Kennedy Carter not being in there so late, especially knowing what the Aces are and the talent that they possess. But I mean, dog, literally, you put it perfectly. Asia Wilson put the Infinity Gauntlet on, said, fuck it, I'm going to do it me, do it for myself. I'm going to do it for me, and goes out and wins this game. And that's what you need out of your MVP, right? Yeah. Like, we have these discussions, and we've had these discussions for the last couple of days with the weekend Nafisa Collier has had and the emergence that she's had. But at the end of the day, man, that's the type of stuff that an MVP does. An MVP wins you games. Like, point blank, period. She wins you games. And Asia Wilson just won you a major game, not just for seeding purposes, but for the psychology of your team. And that in itself is just the worth of that is so massive. Even if, and I know you're going to get into this, even if she didn't have the best game, like, Angel and Kamilla did really great. They were incredible. And even at the end, again, MVP shit. This is what it means, because no matter how good you do, all you need is one play, and the MVP can break you. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah,
they just lasted until like literally the very last second. Like, that's and what's so crazy to me is, like, also just like the chaos of this game was so fun. Kennedy Carter had 3 made threes coming into this game on the season, and hits 2 like that are just insane. She was
preposterous shots,
3 for 18 on the season coming into this game. And you hit that because, of course, like, that's just basketball. Like, of course, Kennedy Carter does that. But you did mention Kamilla and Angel, and I want to start with Kamilla because she had a career high today in blocks. I think it was 5 blocks on the game today for Kamilla. Just, it felt like there was like 10 of her out there. Like, she was literally everywhere. And a lot of that also, I mean, Angel Reese also had a block, but a lot of it was, there were several times where she just kind of clogged up Asia's game on several occasions, just in the half court. Like, they don't pick up the win, but the offense is obviously the issue for Chicago. Like, I don't think that's any question for that. But man, the defensive side of the ball, they got half this game pretty damn figured out right now. And these are 2 rookies doing so. And Kamilla, oh my, when Kamilla,
I'm going to tell you right now, once Kamilla Cardoso gets her conditioning up, it's over for this league.
Dude,
I mean, so look, here's the thing, man. Like, so I know, and we love and respect and appreciate the fans that Caitlin and Angel and such have brought into the game. We are not one of those folks that say you're new, get out, right?
Yeah, certainly.
We're always big on putting you on game. And to put folks on game, when Brittany Griner came out of Baylor, the expectation was this is what it would look like. And BG, you can make a legitimate argument for what we thought the dominance would look like, BG has been a good, not great player in the league. We thought she'd be a top 5 player with her ceiling. She slots in, at least in my rankings, somewhere between like 18 and 25 right now in terms of that GOAT race. The ceiling for Kamilla, as you just saw, against the reigning MVP and face of the league, the ceiling for Kamilla is a top 5 player in this league. Top 5 player ever in this league. I mean, the passing and vision that she has as a 6'7" big, her ability to hold the ball in the post and draw and garner the attention, the way she gets out and runs the floor in
floor running is nuts.
A chase down block a la Game 6 Braun against Asia, and just being a complete suffocating force in the paint all game long.
Yeah.
And you know, this is the adjustment that it takes from college to the WNBA, is the conditioning and the shape that you need to be in to do stuff like this. And you could see it today, right? Angel and Kamilla both did not have it in the tank for all 40 minutes. And that's fine. Absolutely. This is your first year in the league. The most you've had is a 3-week break between, you know, the season, certainly, right?
Yeah, right.
And so for me, year 2, year 3, year 4, when their conditioning is such that you can put them on the floor for 35 minutes and they can give you 80% energy or better consistently for that whole period of time, I don't know what you're going to do with this. I don't know what you're going to do with this group. Yeah. Like, especially, and we saw Angel, you know, brick a 3 in pretty hilarious vaudevillian fashion today. But like, if Angel develops a spot up game, even from 18 feet away, the way Asia has, like, it's a wrap for this league. They just need some guards around them. Kennedy's good, but they need a true point guard. Olivia Miles, come on down. We'll see you soon in a Chicago Sky uniform. But dog, I just, Kamilla Cardoso showed you what the future is going to look like in this league. And I thought it was very interesting that Asia got out there and seemed defended in that first quarter sideline interview where she's talking about the refs and she's talking about, you know, the play. And she said, I don't know if she was referring to the refs when she's like, I
was a bit confused. The stare down.
You, and like, you don't look at me and I'm not going to be cowed by you. I don't know if that was for Kamilla or if that was for the refs.
I was confused too. I'm not 100% sure on
that. If that was for Kamilla, if you got the reigning MVP in your head like that, even for a fleeting moment, if you got the reigning MVP in your head like that, like, you got something. So man, I mean, I can't say enough good about Kamilla. I know we'll get into Angel in a minute because, you know, again, there's highlights and discourse that come along with that. Yeah. But star of the show for the Chicago Sky, Kamilla Cardoso. Star of the show for the Aces, honestly, believe it or not, you know, Asia obviously does Asia things. MVP face, we get it. Not her best game, also get that. You know, that mid-range didn't look automatic. She looked out of sorts, I think, mentally for much of this game. Our girl Pancake Mama.
Hey!
The proud mother of the WNBA's most famous corgi. And if you want to learn more about Pancake, go to No Cap Space.
The No Cap Space bump is real. But Jalen gets the full contract. We got Pancake Mama bombing it for 3. That's the no cap bump.
The no cap space bump's a real thing. So if you want to come play well, come be on no cap space. But 5 of 8 from 3, 13 points, 4 rebounds, and a big important 13 points from Meg off the bench. It's the type of presence they haven't had and done more and did more and done more than Kia Stokes today. She has merited starting rotation minutes, I think. And, you know, she was the X factor for them, especially when they needed it in that 4. She hit some major threes in that 4. So I know the Sky got the viewers. They had a whole lot of a whole lot of stuff that mattered, you know, in this game for just dialogue's sake. But I don't want to, you know, make this about the Sky up front when the Aces won. Certainly, so shouts to Pancake Mama. And also from Joe, shout to Ice Young, friend of No Cap Space, on the national broadcast today too, doing the color. We love Ice. We're gonna bring her back soon.
Absolutely not. Ice. That's the home. I love Ice. But yeah, no, 100%. Like what Meg was able to, it felt like for the first time in a while that the other big in the starting lineup made an impact on the game. Yep. And like a tangible, like, this is the moment where this other big made the impact. And that's what happened today. And frankly, that's like, you know, the bar isn't incredibly high, frankly, for that last starting spot right now. And Meg certainly cleared that bar today. Like even just those
I
couple.
think what's weird, we talked about this in the chat.
Mm.
I think what's weird is like Asia's positionlessness as like a 4-5 combo, I think kind of messes around with what their roster construction is. Because I think if you think about the Sky in this instance, right? Kamilla is the center. There's never a scenario in which Kamilla plays the 4 in that rotation when her and Angel are on the floor together. Now, an Angel, or when Camilla's off the floor, Angel can slot in and be like that 4-5 if you want to go a little smaller. But there's never a situation in which Camilla's on the floor and Kamilla is not the 5. I think what's weird is like they don't have necessarily a true center on this Aces roster. And I think that can create some problems because from a spacing perspective, from a rotation perspective, you don't like, I don't know what the job of that other big is, you know, because, you know, yes, positionless ball and we're the future, et cetera, but this is still the game of basketball. Like, you know it, I know it, coaches know it, players know it. Like, there still are positions that you kind of slot into, right? And there's still archetypes that you fill and roles that you play on the floor. And Stokes does not feel like a true center. Like Meg, at this point in her career, she was, you know, a true center at Iowa, whatever that definition kind of is, because that center is more of like a power forward center hybrid in Bluter's system anyway. They don't have like a true 5 where it's like, all right, Asia will space us out to 18. Asia can also get post touches, but there's this 5 in here that if we need post touches from them, we can also do that and throw a different look out at the defense. And that I think has got to be the frustrating thing if you're Asia, because you're kind of being asked to play 2 separate positions. And that 4, you know, that's on the floor for Megan's like more like 3 to 5. Like it just doesn't make a lot of sense. So I don't know. I don't know what the fix is this year, but it does feel like some of the frustration for Asia has been coming from the fact that there's really no front court running mate with her, especially on the offensive end. And Megan was able to give them that look in a bit of a different way. But even going forward, you're still asking Asia to be the 5 when I feel like she wants to be the 4 and get out and be off ball and run off ball a little bit, give you mid-range, give you motion on the perimeter. And it just doesn't seem... The construction in that front court just seems all messed up to me, especially, you know, now that we've seen the cracks in the armor at this point.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I think it's an interesting thing because I think the whole idea has been, all right, who can we put next to Asia to space the floor next to Asia? And like I certainly think that that's like, you know, a genuine, like, yeah, that makes sense. You know, like obviously you want to give Asia the space to operate, but I do hear you on that where it's like you're asking her. I mean, especially now that she's out of the 3-point game, like you're asking her to play the entire half court, and at this point, you know, on the offensive side of the ball, and that's an interesting, like I said, like, and especially because frankly, like this has been the first game I feel like in a while where the opposite big has actually truly spaced the floor and provided those threes. So I don't know if there is, you know, I mean, I think Meg is the closest thing to a solution for this year. But going forward, I think that might be a completely different archetype that you want next to Asia. Yeah.
And I like Jamari's comment. Like maybe it's Kitley.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. But also like I want to see something from Kitley at this pro level before I dub her as a higher and like
also, there's a lot of work in the mid range that she brings where it could clog up, I feel like, as opposed to I don't know. That's like I mean, frankly, you draft her for something. You got to try. You got to at least give it a shot.
Now, I mean, right now it's higher end Alyssa Kunane until I see it on the floor. Like, you know, that was not the first round draft pick, you know, for a reason. So, I want to see Kitley there, sure, but I think this year, I guess you just got to call it a wash. You know, like I guess that's kind of what you got to do with it. But you know, the whole piece of it is crazy. Just like with this Aces team, like just the drama around everything with this group. And you know, yes, like the lawsuit involved there, all of the other stuff. with Becky Hammon getting out and trying to make certain arguments about herself, which I'm sure her lawyers had a conversation with her about, like the old tweets and the old quotes resurfacing, you know, some of the expectations here. Jackie and Kelsey have been complete helter-skelter, and Chelsea Gray looks like she's legitimately lost a step, and that's fine. Father time comes for everybody. But it's just wild to see the Aces with this degree of inconsistency, because it's just not something we're used to seeing.
Exactly. No, I completely agree. I want to talk about Asia's sideline interview, but before we get into that, I did want to talk about, we touched on it a little bit, but Angel, 22 rebounds. This is the third straight game of 20 plus rebounds, and this is now her 22nd double-double, tying Tina Charles for the rookie record. Listen, Andrew, you said this in the chat. The offensive rebounds off of missed shots are a thing. Absolutely, yes, 100%. 4-16.
We watched
it. You want to clean that up, 100%, no doubt. Like that is a flaw in the game, and certainly is providing some of these rebounds. However, 20 rebounds in 3 straight games has never been done in WNBA history before. So my thing is, and you said this as well in the chat, and I just want to echo it. What are y'all prepared to do about it? Because what, like, and those, to your point here, those missed shots can be cleaned up. The rebounding prowess and the third, fourth, fifth leap at times that she's able to get and just get up and down off the floor to reach up for these rebounds. Who is going to put a body on Angel Reese in the WNBA? Because we are well past the halfway point at this point. We are past the Olympic break. Nobody has been able to do it yet. So yes, and I, as someone who has been on the, like, hey, we got to clean up these misses, that stands. But it's insane the amount of rebounds that she's able to get.
All right. I'm doing the Kennedy Carter ISO right now.
Okay, go ahead. Do your thing. Mm-hmm.
Say you pull 4 rebounds off her average and replace that with 8 points, because that's the whole thing. It's like, well, the rebounding is not going to be as prolific as if she starts making those shots. Cool. Now she goes from 13 and 11 to 21 and 7.
Congrats.
And you know who averages that shit? Nafisa Collier and Angel Wilson.
Yeah.
Take the pick, right?
Yeah.
The kid's prolific one way or another. If she starts making it, guess what? She's an all WNBA first team candidate. If she keeps missing them, she's the most prolific rebounder we've ever seen in the WNBA, in addition to Sylvia Fowles. Like, and to your point, you're right. Okay. Everyone had the reality is coming talk for Caitlin Clark. Miss 144 players in this league, hardest league to make, blah, 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 blah. You know what? I get it. It's a hard league to make. Let's not pretend it's all merit-based, because there are spots within this 144, whether it's free agency, whether it's players that have been traded. Kennedy Carter took a year off from this league because nobody wanted to touch her. I don't know about you. Some of it's self-inflicted on her end. I call that shit politics, because that's what it is. It's the politics of team chemistry. It's the politics of front office work. So you are not necessarily putting the best 144 players in this league on merit. Let's just say that up front. There has to be an understanding that when you go through an explosive growth phase for a game, for a league, for a team, it doesn't mean that the generational greats are any greater than the generational greats of old. What it means is that the bottom end, the floor of your league from a skill and talent perspective goes from here to here. We have seen it in the NBA. We've seen it in the NFL. We've seen it in the NHL. You could make a reasonable argument that a lot of those leagues have capped out and are looking for new rules to create shit, because the skill level of the league has hit a point where the floor is so good, you can't make it any better. The W doesn't have that problem right now. So this idea that the rookies were going to come in and not be excellent is ignoring the fact that the floor of women's basketball at the youth and college levels has gotten better. That's point 1. Point 2, because it feeds into the Asia Wilson sideline interview, if, big qualifier, if she was talking about Kamilla and not the officials. These kids are good. They've had 4 months of play under their belt now. They are good at basketball. They were picked in the lottery. These are not slouch players that are doing this to you. And they have the confidence and the trophies and the awards to back up their days in college going, nah, I'm her and I'm going to come do this. There is not, and they did this with Caitlin. They did it partially with Angel. And, you know, it felt like, again, if true, it was done to Kamilla today, where it's like, you got to have a certain level of deference to us when you come up. No, you do not. This is a competitive sport, and you got to let these kids be competitive because they are here to play. There's 144 of you in this league. If all of you have watched this girl miss layups and box you out and outwork you and get board after board after board and get all the attention and all the accolades and all of the partnerships and all the sponsorships and all of the column inches and airtime on your favorite shows. Why are we not talking about Asia Wilson when we should be when we're talking about Angel Reese instead? Because none of y'all have boxed that girl out and told her or made her stop getting rebounds. Okay, Kawhi put it on the shirt. Board woman gets paid. So go get boards. Stop her from doing it, and it stops. And so for everyone who's like, well, she keeps missing shots and she gets her own offensive rebounds and it's empty calorie statistics. First of all, it ain't empty calories because, yes, the shots are missed, but it's an extra possession. Ask any coach in this game. Extra possessions are not empty calories, first and foremost. Second of all, rebounding wins championships. As it's said, Natty Starr, get up on the stage. Rebounds win championships. Joe, get on the stage. Rebounds win championships. All right? Extra possessions win championships. So if you don't want to have this discussion anymore, you got to implore your favorite players. Do it in a public forum. Don't get in their DMs because that shit's corny and weird and parasocial. And I know that the 65 people watching this are not corny, weird, or parasocial. But you know they search up their names. You put it on the timeline and say, if you want to stop Angel Reese from getting all these offensive rebounds so we stop talking about Angel Reese, stop her. Stop her from getting boards. And the conversation ends. It is a crazy component of discourse because there is so much evidence and so many statistics out there that suggest that what she is doing is elite. Because if she wasn't, somebody would have stopped it yet. Nobody has. So at some point, we got to call it what it is. The kid is an elite rebounder. Are there holes in her game? Yes. Do I think she's the rookie of the year? No. I still think Caitlin Clark is there. I don't necessarily think it's super close at this point, but this is the situation with Angel Reese where you have a potential all-star, all-WNBA player, potential Hall of Fame ceiling as a player who just might run up against one of the all-time great rookie campaigns we've ever seen. There's no shade to that. Sylvia Fowles and Candace Parker were rookies at the exact same time. Candace won a Rookie of the Year and an MVP. Still is in the Hall. There's sometimes just nothing you can do. All right? But I'm tired of people acting like Angel's rebounding ability is not elite, bordering on one of the best that's ever entered this league as just a rookie. Because if it was so simple, somebody would have stopped it, and nobody has yet.
Yeah.
There's
the ISO. Not only would they have stopped it, but people would have been doing it before. And because everything has been history this, history that. Like it is, like I said, to your point, there are there holes in the game. Yes, she's a rookie. I mean, like every player has some type of hole in their game.
Like we're saying, leading the league in turnovers and assists for Caitlin. That's a thing for Caitlin to clean up. Angel's got to clean up the offensive efficiency. It's the same thing. Each has a plus, an elite plus, and the other has an elite minus. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But dog, she's going to become, if it keeps up like this, one of the elite defensive and rebounding players in this league. And if the offensive stuff gets cleaned up, then she's a complete player.
Yeah.
And and again, I get it because it's goofy, right? Like we saw the three that she shot go like clunk on the backboard. Like we watched it. Okay. Like we saw that happen, but at the same time, like she gets bored.
Like, and and also can't I feel like it can't really be overstated. Like damn near every like when you think of the greats of the WNBA, we're getting dog cam. When you think about the greats of the WNBA, think about how many of those are forwards, and in comparison to guards. So like both right now in the league, when you think about the best players in the league, it's the players that she's often matching up with, or at minimum battling for the rebounds with. And when you think about the all-time legacy aspect of this and like what she's accomplishing already, when we were talking history, it's all the greats that you think of when you think of the WNBA. So many of those players we're battling down low. Like it's like I said, it's you can poke holes, but ultimately like what she's doing is all time. Like
listen,
it's
bro. Let's keep it a bean right now, because we have spent the week celebrating Tina Charles. And this is not to take away from Tina Charles's greatness, going to second on the all-time scoring list, passing Tina Thompson, being behind Diana. Tina Charles has had a critique of her career being empty calories statistically. She hasn't won a lot of championships. There's I would say like the NBA comp for her is like a Carmelo Anthony type, where it's all-time great and the greatness is undeniable, but you know, some of the championships and the winning doesn't match with what the career is. And what that tells me is that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if this team is losing still. It doesn't matter if they're not there yet. This kid is going to be great. And I know like we've, you know, stan culture is in the W now, which is fine. I'm happy you're here. I really am, because, you know, board woman gets paid and content guy gets paid as a result. But there also has to be an understanding that with whatever you think about her from a, you know, empty stat or winning perspective, the kid's got it. Like it's not off court aura. She has something in this game that's elite and hasn't been seen before. And we have to acknowledge that. It should be acknowledged.
100%. I know the last thing that I have is talking about the Asia Wilson sideline interview for which I think I might be able to pull it up once. Yeah, I
say you can play it.
Yeah, let me share the screen real quick.
I do want to talk about the Maya Moore thing before we go to.
All right, we'll do that.
Because there's some stuff for us to talk about with Maya. It's going to be in 5 out, but while we're here and while we got folks, I know people have dialogue about the Maya Moore game last night, so we're going to talk about that.
Okay, so Asia Wilson, this was after the first quarter, I think, right? I believe, yeah.
Yep.
With Asia Wilson, and you're pretty fired up right now. What's going through your mind?
Everyone has to do their job. From the players to the refs to the coaches, we all have to do our job. And I don't appreciate being looked at and stared at as if you're trying to intimidate me or act like I don't have the boards on this court. So, yes, we are messing up defensively, and it's like we're not engaged. And we need to get engaged, and that's on us. But also, it goes hand in hand. And that's it. And if I get fined for this, I'm terribly sorry, but it's ridiculous. We've been going through this all season, so everybody got to do their job.
Thank you so much.
So, like you said, to your point, I'm not 100% sure if the stare down part was in regards to Kamilla, because there was a block like early on in this game where Kamilla did kind of stare down and get a little
like
bar off.
What ref is trying to intimidate you? That's like the only thing unless there's something we didn't see. And look,
right, which is very possible. Certainly possible.
I'm not gonna discount her experience.
I did. The other thing that I did, because obviously that was directly, whether the stare down part was about Kamilla or not, ultimately that's about the refereeing and how she was feeling about it. One thing I did want to point out, just to kind of provide the larger context for it, it's not even saying that she's wrong or anything, but going into this game, the free throw attempt, she's
objectively wrong about this. Like we can seriously, like let's call it what it is, you know, and you know, this is not a personal animus thing. This is talking basketball. These are statistics. These are numbers that support an argument. This is new age of the W. We don't have to coddle these folks. She's crying about free throws when she set a WNBA record in free throw attempts last year, and as of this game is leading the league in free throw attempts.
Going into this game was 202 behind Jewel Lloyd's 204, so takes a lead there. And then last season, just for kind of like the reference of that, she was at 202 going into this game. Last year, she tied Angel McCautry for most free throws attempted in a single season with 287. That was last year, and then I think 5th place in 2018 all time for 248. So obviously, like, you know, she certainly earns a lot of those fouls. But so like it's an interesting, like I said, it's kind of just an interesting dialogue, I guess, to have when you know you are leading the league in free throws, and I it seemed like, because I posted that clip on Twitter, it had gotten a decent amount of traction, so I was kind of, you know, able to get a decent kind of feel for how people were feeling about it, and it felt pretty mixed bag, you know, like honestly, like, you know, it was certain, like I people that are Asia fans were like, turn it up, whereas you know, the people
what
that
else is new?
like, but yeah, you know, but so I do think it's an interesting, like I said, because the stats kind of tell one story while the other one, like I said, I don't know if the intimidation part like is like about the refs and knowing, like, and I don't know if anything was asked about it in post game or not. That's more interesting to me than the actual free throw attempts and everything, like as in that part of the dialogue.
She got clamped by rookies and she was mad. She didn't appreciate Kamilla staring her down, because when it's Asia and Angel up against each other, we got the whole sister narrative, you know? And if you noticed, Angel wasn't saying shit to Asia in this game. She wasn't. There was one, and I put it in our chat, you know, our No Cap Space chat. There was a possession where Angel got one over on Asia on the offensive side. And every time that type of thing happens in any other game this year, Angel's saying something. She's doing the too small. She's got, you know, something going on. But in this one, she doesn't. And I don't know if she was expecting Kamilla to not have that kind of deference to her. And so, like, superstars do this. And this is not a critique of Asia as much as it is superstars doing it. Because, look, Stewie led the league, I think it was last year, 540 attempts at the line. Like, but here's the problem. Go back to 2022, for instance, right? That first title year. Number 2 and number 3 in the league to combine for 1,040 free throw attempts on a season. Kelsey Plum and Asia Wilson, and Jackie Young was in 17th that year with 401. Last year in free throw attempts, let me pull up handy dandy basketball reference. Asia leads with 287, and you've got significantly less until you get to Plum, who's down there. And I would argue last year was the best. That was the best and most, vital Aces season that they had. Like, and so I hate when stars cry about this shit. Like, I get it, man. When you're used to walking to the line for nothing, and you know, and you have a game where it doesn't happen, like, yeah, I guess that can feel like you're not getting the calls that you usually get. But like the same way in the NBA, and the reason I put those two things together is not to consistently draw comparisons out. It is to highlight one comparison for all of us that are watching this stuff. These women are professionals. These women are at the top of their craft. They deserve what the men are getting in terms of percentages of revenue, our eyeballs, our interest, our dialogue, our discourse. But what comes with that is we got to talk about them in a respectful way, in a nuanced, intersectional way. But we have to talk about them on the athletic merits the way we talk about the men. And the same way I hate when James Harden and Joel Embiid do this shit, I hate it when Fierce Louis Erasia does this shit. Like, you're a physical 4 that's going up for the hoop. You get the ball in the post 80% of your touches. Like, yes, you're going to get physical play. And this Sky team played more physically than anybody else in the league. And honestly, I don't think she was expecting to get that from Kamilla. I don't think she was. So, you know, I can understand the pressure. I can understand how bad the vibes have been, frankly, with this Aces team, that you would be frustrated. You know, we know that WNBA refs are not good. This is an established fact.
Mm-hmm.
But the Aces as a team just cry about this shit way too much, man. Like, I'm sorry. I like, and maybe the Hamby thing has put it in their head, and this game will stop that type of affect that I personally am seeing from this team. But there's a persecution complex with this franchise right now where I'm like, half of this shit you guys did to yourselves. You know, you didn't have to partner with the tourism agency to put $100,000 in people's pocket. It was great, and more owners should be willing to spend money. But like, you did a thing that is being investigated. You know, you got sued by De'Erica Hamby. You know, you tried to give her money under the table. You tried to pay for her kids', school allegedly, right? Like, these are things that you do. You go to the line and you live off the line, and that's a critical part of your offensive game. So, like, I've had it with the persecution complex of this team when things aren't going well. Like, frankly, nut up a little bit. It was fine to put out snarky bullshit tweets, you know, downplaying domestic violence and downplaying the Hamby lawsuit when you guys were winning championships, and at the parade, you know, reiterating hurt, sued, arrested champions. Like, that was okay for you to do. But now that the shoe's on the other foot and the dominance isn't the same, now I got to hear about how persecuted the Aces are? Stop. Miss me with that. You have 4 Olympians on your team. I know one doesn't have the same step anymore, but you got the face of the league, people who anointed Becky the best coach in the league, 2 other Olympians that are damn good at basketball, and Pancake Mama. So I don't want to hear it for what is, you know, for what's going on with this franchise. You have all the pieces to be a title winning team. It's not hating. I'll put it up. I'll put it up. It's not hating. I'm not hating on this franchise, man. I'm really not. Like, this team is incredible, but you got to stop crying about this kind of stuff. There's not a persecution there's not a persecution complex. I'm sorry. Nobody's trying to make you guys not be champions because you've been champions for the last 2 years. You want to do the Maya Moore thing before we wrap?
And if you like that, you can get more than 5 out. Link in the bio, link in the description below. But yes, let's talk about the Maya Moore jersey retirement, because there's a lot of discourse about it not being on national TV. It was aired on NBA TV and League Pass. I was watching on NBA TV, and as the game ends and everything, and they had made it sound, and they had, I think you posted a screenshot in our chat, like they had like kind of promoted beforehand that they would be showing Maya Moore's jersey retirement on, yes, the coverage of the jersey retirement afterwards, because it all happened after the game, and they did not. Well, the game ends and it goes to the Kobe and Shaq sit down interview and not Maya Moore. So, and I know you're our business guy, man. You be knowing how all the inner workings, everything of the broadcast business. So break this down for us as to why this went the way it did.
Yeah, there's not going to be as much fire and brimstone here, folks. So, we will not be going. We'll not be going to church. So for those that don't know, I work in TV full time. So I know and see how these business decisions are typically made. So first things first, I know we all love women's basketball. I know we all love the W. I know Caitlin brings out the hose from a TV viewership perspective. You're not competing with college football. It's just not going to happen. The 2 million that we're getting in these WNBA games that are record-setting viewerships, that is an average more often than not college football game, especially in the first week that we're getting college football. So my issue is not with the W. And if you're pointing at the W for why the game is not on national TV, that's misplaced. It goes on the networks. The networks decide what games they want to pick up. And from a coverage perspective, I can understand why you would give this over to NBA TV on the surface, because the way it works for ESPN, for CBS, for ION, when the games end, their programming schedule dictates they go to something else. And I know a lot of us have complained for a long time, like, why don't we get a pre or a post game show? The networks find that there is more money to be made and more viewers to be found if you pivot from a WNBA game into another sport. It's why this game ended on CBS. And we end up with I don't even know what came on, but
I didn't know what it was.
Another sporting event came directly on, right? So NBA TV actually has an opening there if they wanted to have taken it, where you're out of season, you're a 24-hour network, you need coverage and content to fill. So on the surface, it's like, okay, we can take this game and then we can cut an hour out of our programming and just show the Maya Moore stuff. And just keep the Maya Moore stuff there and have it live and everybody can watch it and be on it. The W, for their part, did put push alerts out saying everything, you can watch it for free on League Pass. They promoted it pretty heavily. I think they needed to do more promotion the week leading up. But the Lynx were the ones that made the decision that they wanted to put it on the first college football Saturday of the year, which I thought was nuts. I can understand why, because you want to cash in on the Caitlin Clark thing, the sellout. Clark and Maya obviously have a relationship with one another. Maya was there for Caitlin's last home game in Carver Hawkeye. So, there's like a thing about a bridging of eras and idol worship and all that kind of stuff, where I would imagine they looked at the Fever and said, we want to have the Fever be the team on the schedule for this. There was another Fever home game in July. It was a 2:00 game, but it was on ESPN. Probably could have done it there, but I'm not the one running this stuff. The issue is the Lynx messed up. And I think NBA TV owns this L in a major way, because you could have held this. You could have really established yourself as a network that handles both basketball for men and women, but you prioritized, wanting to cash in on the viewership you got by showing Kobe Shaq. And I think that in itself kind of inherently shows the disrespect from the men's side going into the W, because we've always had this discussion about whether or not the W is actually constrained by the NBA. This is an example of yes, and if anything, maybe the argument is that like the W needed to push the NBA and NBA TV a little more for this, but those are TV executives. You're not going to get them to budge. So I'm going to write about it more on 5-Out. Don't blame the W for once, because they do a lot of other stuff that sucks, but for once, don't blame them. Like this one actually is not on the W in the way I'm sure that they wanted to. So
there you go.
Peek behind the curtain.
There's your broadcast lesson for the day. I think that's a great place to wrap this up. What an episode it's been of the No Cap Space post game show. We got a great week coming up content wise. If for a little sneak peek that we haven't revealed yet. Preview. Monday 5-Out, so make sure you're on the Substack. Tuesday, on Thursday, we sat down with Alyssa Peely of the Minnesota Lynx, so that will be dropping on Tuesday, I believe. And then we have our first two overtime select, interviews dropping with Mia Paldo, who is committed to Tennessee, and Gigi Banks, who was one of the top players in the 2027 class, among other things that you'll also find on the Substack. So make sure that you're going and subbing there so you don't miss out on anything. Because if you're only on the YouTube, you're missing out on a whole bunch of No Cap Space content, because everything can be found on the Substack, from podcasts to interviews to articles. All of it is on the Substack. So that's the place to be. Find the description below. And yeah, we'll see you next time.